And then Danielle, whenever you're ready, you can also pop those links in the chat too. Thank you. All right, let me start my screen sharing here and we will begin. All righty, can everyone see the slides all right? Perfect, thanks, Don. All right, so good morning to all, and welcome to this next session in the series of FOLIO introductory trainings. Today, we will be looking at the circulation log app, which is one of the more unique features, especially for those of you who are familiar with workflows. This is something that we've kind of wanted a long time for staff, so this is an exciting new feature, as you'll see today. Just a very brief round of introductions for presenters today. I'm Tyler Mitchell. I'm the Circulation Operations Manager here in Access Services at Green Library. And my colleague is also presenting and has done a lot of the work here to prepare us for today, Danielle Noble. And she's the Assistant Librarian for the evening and Access Services at Green Library as well. And with that, see if we can work here. I just wanted to give you kind of a little perspective as we get started today. We're all new to Folio and we all have our areas of expertise. So just be patient with yourself and also with others, both in today's training and as we continue to learn about Folio within the continuing weeks before implementation in late August. Just I'll keep that kind of in mind as we move along today. All right, so what is the circulation log exactly? As I said earlier, this is kind of an exciting feature, I think, of Folio and requires a little bit of resetting of your mind and how you might think of the log. But it's essentially a history of actions that are performed either with an item, a user, or a service point. And importantly, these actions have to be performed in certain apps in order to appear on the circulation log. So it's only for things that are in the check-in and checkout, request, or user apps within the that will appear on the circulation log. We'll see some examples of things that you might be interested in that wouldn't appear here. So say if you were in the inventory app and you marked an item as missing, since that took place in an app outside of these four, that would not appear in the circulation log. But don't worry, there's a lot of information in there that will appear that we'll see today. Also, just to kind of get our head around the terms that Folio uses that are especially important for the circ log, uses the terms actions and object to show what's happened to an item, a user at a service point. So for example, if you check out an item, there's a loan object associated with that, and the action is checked out. Again, you'll see this in the log and the tables and specific records that we look at. And then so in the case of that example, each subsequent activity taken on that item is displayed as a separate object with an associated action. So bearing in mind that this is a log and that you'll see everything that's been performed on an item, just remember this isn't something that you should confuse with like, oh, well, what's the current status of this item? For example, if you checked something out and then checked it back in, expect to also still see the checked out item in the log. Don't get confused and say, oh, I thought I checked that in, because both of those events or actions will appear in the log. And then just one other little introductory element. This is a table showing you which actions and objects are associated with one another. They're kind of what you might expect, so I won't read through them here. We'll go through them in more detail in the examples, but just to give you kind of a little preview of what to expect when we're looking at this. All right, so with that said, and now that you kind of know what the circulation log is, what are we hoping for everyone to walk away from here today? So by the end of the training, you'll know how to generate a circulation log 3 ways, via user barcode, an item barcode, or through a service point. And additionally, through generating the log those 3 ways, you'll be able to refine searches through the filters that are in the window pane, loans, requests, notices, and fees and fines. And each of these filter categories has subtopics that we'll go through as well. All right, so as we, oh, there's one other element, sorry about that. So looking at a record. that would be generated in the circulation log. You'll see this table here. Starting from the left-hand side, the user barcode, that's just a user ID. Item barcode, same thing. So it's associated with a record or an item that we have here at Stanford, and something that you'll see here, it's underscored. So you could click on that and that would take you to the inventory app record for that item. Object, we've already talked a little bit about those. You can see the different types and then the respective circulation action, date and time that this was performed. Service point, that's where the action was performed. And this is also kind of unique to Folio, again, compared to those of us who are familiar with workflows, the source. So the person who was logged in to Folio and perform the action will be traced. So you can go back with questions for people and like, well, how did this happen? And then also in the case that it's automated through Folio, it would say system there in the source cell. And then this is also a very important column, the description column. Lots of information here on what happened depending on the action and the object. It's variable depending on what action was performed. We'll look at some more details of those later. And finally, the right-hand side of the action column, that is again contingent on what the circulation action was. But for an example like this, you'd be able to look further at user details for who is associated with the closed loan, or you could also look at item details, which would take you to the item record in the inventory app. That's kind of our introduction. All right, so how we'll go forward from here is we have some slides that demonstrate different ways to generate the log, and then I will work with you through some exercises, just demonstrating in real time how we do that, and you can also do that along with us. So if I can, there we go. All right, so first step, pretty easy. We're going to generate a log using a user barcode. So in that instance, you'd click on the circulation log app in Folio, go to the window pane on the left and enter the user barcode, or if you don't know that, you can look up the patron via various means of their data. And after you do that, it will, oops, sorry about that, it'll generate the log that's associated with that user's account, or for lack of a better term, their checkout history. Again, this is kind of cool because we've not been able to do that before in workflows, at least not all staff, but anyone with the permissions to look at the circulation log can now do that, which is kind of fun, I think. All right, so now let's do it ourselves. And again, since this is looking at history, we've generated some actions with specific users. So if you look up yourself in this instance, unlike other apps, you probably won't get as many results here. So we encourage you to use the users that we will share with you. And I can't see the chat right now. Danielle, are you able to post that in there?
Yep, I went ahead and put in the user barcode and Folio stage.
Thank you very much.
You're
Okay,
welcome.
thanks. And thanks for reminding me. Yes, so for these examples, please use stage and not test. Let's see. All right. And then you should be able to see Folio now, stage, on my screen or on your screen with Zoom. Okay, thank you. Okay, so popping in here, we will generate circulation log using this user, copy and paste their ID, or they would scan it. You hit enter. And we're not getting anything. Let me reset.
You have a space at the end of the.
Oh, at the end. Thank you, Ria. Appreciate that. So there's an example of the sensitivity of Folio. Both the space at the beginning or at the end will affect your results. All right, so here we can see a range of actions have been performed on this user. If we wanted to see only checkouts, though, you can go over here to the loan filters and hit checked out. And then we have that. And you can see also the range of dates, which you can arrange in ascending or descending order, which is also useful. Second one, I'm going from memory right now, but I think we wanted to look up Tyler test. So say you don't have the user's barcode in front of you, you can go to patron lookup, type myself in here. It thinks about it, we can look it up. And then you have to go back up to the field here and hit enter. And you see there are also checkouts here. If you wanted to get rid of that, you could deselect and see everything else that's happened. Any questions so far?
Tyler, I have a question.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Is the checkouts that you just faceted for, is that current checkouts, or is that like everything that the person has checked out forever and ever?
That's a great question. It's everything they've checked out within a year, which is, I think, how long we're going to retain data. After that, it's up to the user to determine that. So yeah, that's something to be aware of. Again, it's not necessarily their items that have a status of being checked out, but it's everything they've checked out within a year. Good question. Any others? All right. We will move.
Tyler, I have a question.
Yeah, sure. Don.
You're in folio stage and not folio test.
Mhm.
So I've been in folio test. I don't know if I've ever been introduced to folio stage. Maybe it was sent out and I never saw it. So what's the difference there?
It's essentially just another platform to be able to load data and test things. Test is actually, if I'm not mistaken, as where circulation rules and everything are going to be uploaded to the product of Folio. This was another platform for us to kind of manipulate and play around with data. And in this instance, the records that Danielle and I created lasted longer in stage and weren't erased like they were in test. So that's why we're using stage today.
Okay. I guess my one question is, moving forward, as I learn folio, should I be using stage or test, or does it matter?
You can use either.
Wonderful.
Mhm.
I just don't want to break anything.
Oh yeah, you won't break anything.
Tyler, can I jump in here?
Jump in, Kelly.
We want them to use test because that's where the circ rules are. And those are, test will be the database that will go into prod.
Mm-hmm.
And Catherine and I sent out an email yesterday specifically saying test and test, so they can give us feedback.
Okay, that sounds good. Thanks. Always on. Mhm.
Yeah, test has the most updated circ roles, and they're going to be, I think, more frequently updated with records, I believe, is the general
We're now, yeah,
rule of thumb.
shifting ground here, so always keep your eye on notices. Thanks, Kelly, too, for that that
Tyler,
input. Mhm. Yes,
I had
Harry.
a question.
Mhm.
If I understood correctly, you just said the data in the circulation log would only be retained for 1 year.
Mhm.
So does that apply to everything?
I know that that's associated with username and their checkouts. I don't know if it'll be anonymized after that. If
I'm just thinking about how we, as you know, we plan to use this as part of our tracking system and technical services. And it wouldn't be unusual for something to be here for like a year necessarily.
Mhm.
So I'm just wondering if, so like when we did our thing, it would end up in transit. Would something in transit stay there?
Yeah, it's not my understanding that that would be erased. It's just the specific user data associated with checkouts and check-ins. Laszlo, can you confirm that it's been decided that that would be a year that data is retained?
For in transits, the anonymization really has to do with the user associated with the original transaction. So what's going to happen is it's going to remove their barcode and leave, I believe, some sort of a temporary placeholder or a statement saying, was borrowed by a user. The actual status of the item. If it's still in transit, remains in transit. It's just we're removing that personalized information from it. So if for whatever reason it doesn't make it to its home location in a year, that in transit status doesn't go away. You just lose who the original borrower was.
Mhm.
So if we had, you know, with our tracking system, we would check it in at the service point for metadata, for instance. And then the person's name would show in source.
Right.
So we would use that to kind of hopefully determine like whose desk it might be at or what backlog it might be in. Would those things like the service point and the source disappear, or would those still be there after a year?
No, the service point would stay, the source. I'd have to look at it because I think I'll take this offline a little bit, but I think we can figure out anonymization on a more granular level. So there may be certain service desks we don't want to anonymize if you're just using it for that type of work, rather than like a real user checking out an item. Because the whole point of the anonymization process is to prevent us from retaining a legal link back. You know, this goes way back to like the Patriot Act, right? Where we don't want to be able to be subpoenaed for who checked out these books on topics that we consider risque, you know, or dangerous. That's what it's about. So, but likewise, you don't want staff associated with materials as well. So let me check into that and I'll get back to you on it, Harold.
Okay, thank you. It's kind of tangentially related, but I'm just curious.
Yeah, no,
if,
I agree, and it's important for your for your
Yeah.
operations. So
I was
let me find
wondering
out.
if a barcode is deleted, like the item in the barcode is deleted, would that cause the circulation log entries for that item and barcode to also disappear?
Hmm.
That's
I-
also a good question.
I wonder if not, because that's being performed in the inventory app, right? Or a record, not in one of the 4 circulation related apps.
I believe you're correct, Tyler.
Because also, speaking further to Harold's point, it's just making me think as well, you can't search in the search log by in transits if you look over on the loan filters to the left, because that's again an item status change. If it can be part of the record when you do a check-in, but it's the action of checking in that actually is recorded, and in transit just happens to be in the description of the status.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, cool. And thanks, Laszlo, too, for chiming in. All right, so let me switch back to our presentation. All right, oops, excuse me. Okay, so we now want to try and find a request for a specific user. So again, in our screenshot here, we're in the circ log. We've entered the user over on the left-hand side. And then if you go to the request filter, you can drop down and you can see there's a canceled option there. We will try this in a minute. Oh, sorry, I forgot we had our graphics here on the slide. So canceled over here by request. You're looking at the object of a request and then the description over there. We cut off the reason for why this is canceled, but beyond that, you can see the reason for the cancellation. And then also same sort of tactic when looking for a notice for a user, you can look up the user. You'll see on the bottom left-hand side underneath notice, send is checked. Again, you can confirm that the object that you're looking at is a notice. All right, so let's try this now ourselves. And yeah, thanks, Jeanette, for letting us know you can't search in transit and inventory, but that's not part of the circ log. All right. All right, and it's also good practice whenever looking up anything new in the circulation log to just go ahead and hit reset all. Put in this person. And then we want to look at canceled requests. We're not getting any. What about any created? There we go. Okay, so in this, with our test subject here of Danielle test, you can see that there were 2 requests created down at the bottom. We don't want to look at the blocks right now, which also appear in circulation actions of creation. And these were examples of pages requests that were created. Were the item to be checked in and made available for the patron, you would also see a notice example of send, an action of send, and an object of notice, which I might be able to, I'll show you that later. Any questions there? No? All right. Right. So one other thing when we want to look at maybe fines and fees associated with a user, it's going to be the same sort of tactic again. You would go to the fee fine filters, select build, and then you would get all the examples of where or actions of when this user had been billed. See a specific record there. All right. For the sake of the group, I think we can move forward from this exercise unless someone wants to try it on their own. All right, keep moving forward then. Okay, so we've done a generation now in various ways through user barcode, but you can also do it if you're wanting to find a specific item and see where circulation actions have been performed on that. So here you can see instead of filling out that top field, we've gone to the field below. And then all the actions that are associated with that item appear here in the log for us. Same kind of tactic works with service points. And this, I think, was partially Harold's question of he was wondering if he can search that way. So in this instance, we have the green loan desk and everything that's happened there. As you see, the large arrow to the right-hand side confirms that we're looking at the service point of the green loan desk. Something that's very helpful is you can see when requests are created from a specific service point. So in this instance, we're again looking at the green loan desk, and you can see all the instances of created requests there. The object of request and at the service point. All right, so let's try it ourselves. And we've got an item barcode here, and we want to try and find out how many records are associated with this item. Thanks, Danielle. Okay, so we will reset, and this time we're going with the item barcode. Enter it in. And how many records did you find? Anybody? Hopefully you successfully generated the log first on the item type, but how many did others get? 8 records?
Tyler?
Mm-hmm.
I got 8, but just observation. I often have the experience in a circulation log that when I search a barcode, it shows every action twice. And then if I refresh the page, it'll show it correctly with each action listed once.
Interesting.
I don't know if others have had that experience.
I do have that occasionally. In this instance, though, I don't see that.
Yeah, it happened to me when I just now searched the barcode, and then if I refresh the page, it will correct itself. I don't know. So I don't know, it's some kind of bug, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, that was mentioned as a bug recently. I'm not sure when the resolution of it's going to happen, but it's a known bug. But
And
like you discovered, refreshing it just fixes the issue. So
Mhm. Sometimes again, if I reset, that has helped me, because I do know in the past I encountered that issue as well. But thanks for raising that, Harold. All right, and this time I did not remember the second one that we're doing. Okay, we want to look at claims return next. So we will reset. And the cool thing is you can also search one of these filters. You can click just on them and see what actions have been performed that include those elements. So here we have, there's only one instance here of a claims return. So I'm going to show you in test greater variety. So let's go over here to test. Can everyone see test on my screen? Okay, thanks. Okay, so underneath loan, you can go to claims returned. You can see we have 96. Let's say though, we don't want to see all of them, but we only want to see the one that's say my service point. So I could go to green loan desk, hit that. And now we see we only have 49 records. Makes sense. Any questions there? Oh, cool. All right. All right, so that was the demonstrations to those three. What overall questions do people have? I've not been looking at the chat, so forgive me, but it looks like Danielle's been tackling some of that.
With Michelle's great help.
Thanks,
Hey,
Michelle.
Tyler, this is Stella.
Hey, Stella.
Hiya. Thanks very much. Great presentation. I was wondering, sometimes I saw the source said system, and are those actions that that's part of the programming as opposed to someone needing to be logged in to perform?
Yes, those are automated, which happens, for example, when checking out items, a system notice is sent to the person confirming the checkouts. That can happen either when you end the session manually in the checkout app, or if you wait for it 3 minutes later, the session automatically closes and it would send a notice. Yeah, those are actions performed through Folio and not through a specific user who's doing that.
Got it. Okay, right. And then my other question just on the last slide was for the claims returned is the service desk in this case you had filtered by green loan desk, but that's just where the claims returned, or the user might have claimed that the item was returned, but it's possible that the item is owned by a different library, right?
Yes, so that's the user who's logged in. That's the service desk that they were logged into when they made the claim. It's returned.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Other questions? All right. If there aren't any other questions, we can close early. We will, again, this information, the documentation, the slides, and also some helpful references are posted, and we'll also post a recording of this once it's been edited and tightened up. If you have any other questions, also please feel free to reach out to me or Danielle in the future. I appreciate all of you coming today.
Oh, Tyler, there's a a request from Juanita to demonstrate what an in-transit item might look like.
Ah, okay. Let me see if I can generate one of those.
If you have an example, if not, that's fine. So
I had one and they were erased
oh,
over the past few days, but we can create one though. So let's go to the inventory app for say.
Tyler, I popped the barcode into the chat if you want to just use that one, or if
Oh,
you
okay.
pick one of your own.
Is this already good to go?
I haven't created it yet, but I could real quick if
Oh,
you want.
okay. I got it. Right. It might be difficult for me because I only have permissions to work from the service points in green. So, also I can't see my full screen. Oh yeah, this is in green. I was hoping for a Sal 3 item.
I can check it in on my end because I've got multiple service points. So
Oh, okay.
give me just one
Yes,
second.
I don't have
Thanks.
access to others either. Thank you, Lazo.
Oh gosh, I had multiple service points. I forgot that was in test. So give me just a second, folks, and I'll give myself permission to do it.
Tyler, while he's doing that, can't you go to item status and look for in transit?
I can if I get rid of that. Okay. So now if we go to circ log, item barcode. So as one of you can see here, when the item was checked in on the row 3 from the top, there's a check-in receipt sent, and then at the top, the item status in the description column is where it shows that it's in transit to Sal 3. Does that kind of answer your question, Juanita?
This is test data, right?
Yes.
Oh, go ahead and say, because there's no way it got an in transit. This was checked in from 6-1.
Oh yeah, no.
I better go kill some people.
We're getting people in trouble.
I know.
This would help me out a lot. So thank you guys.
Thank you. And yeah, Juanita, as Kelly and I can't remember earlier who guided us with this, it's through the inventory app that you look up items that are in transit, not the circulation log. Thanks, Kelly. Good questions. And yeah, it'll probably take a while for all of us to get comfortable with when to use the circulation log versus inventory when you're looking at different statuses of an item. Again, just to keep in mind today for the circulation log, it's anytime an action is performed in one of those 4 apps. So check in, check out, request, or a user. If it's something done in the inventory app, then you should probably look in the inventory app and not start through the circulation log. I'm gonna stop my screen share for now.
Hi, Tyler, it's Stella again.
Hey, Stella.
Um, um, I was wondering, is the circulation log equivalent to requesting a histolog on an item in workflows, or is that a little different? Is there different kinds of information available there?
I think the information is more readily available here in the circ log. You don't have to wait overnight to have a report generated. And it's also, again, accessible to a lot more people, which is nice. Trying to think of anything that wouldn't be available in the circ log that's available through a history report.
And I haven't seen that many of them, only once in a while when we're trying to track something down. So that's why I was kind of wondering, would there be any reason for me to sort of seek elsewhere beyond the circ log app?
No, and this is going to, again, tell you a little bit more to like even the person who performed the action, which, you know, currently we don't have access to, especially the place where we have multiple shared service desks like at Green.
But yes, Stella, this is the equivalent of the hist log that right now somebody has to request from people who have access to that in Symphony. And Tyler is correct too that there's more information that's readily available to the staff member. And you don't have to interpret anything. In the Symphony hist log, there are a few things that you kind of just have to know what they mean. But in this case, it's more transparent in a way.
Got it. All right. Yes, thank you. It's definitely more readable and readily interpretable. Thank you.
Don, did you have a question?
No, I just had a comment, Tyler. So I learned a lot just in the brief time that I was here, figuring out if it hasn't been circulated and you do it, the circulation log in it, it won't show up, right? So I'm
right.
sitting here going, well, why isn't this in the system? And then I checked it out to myself and guess what? It shows up in the
It's in there.
circulation log. Of course, then I wanted to see service point, right? Could I see if it showed up in my service point? And I want to see if it was checked out. And I went to the checkout service log for the marine biology. It didn't show up. I'm like, okay, what's going on here? It's broke again, right? But then underneath checkout there's checkout override. And I had to override this. Once I clicked override, it shows up. So there's a lot to it, but once you stumble through it enough times, it works.
Just a word of caution though, again, I wouldn't recommend using the log to find the current status of an item either. I'd again go to the inventory app for that.
It's good if like a patron is wondering if their hold has expired or they want to remember what checkouts they had before. We get that question a lot, like, can you find this book I checked out a year ago? And so
Now we can.
Now we can.
For a year. That's right, Kevin.
Yes, minus 1 day.
Can I change? That could work tomorrow. Let's try that. Ah. Yes.
Can you share your screen, Tyler?
I can. 1 sec, sorry. Red ping, and that works. to see as tomorrow is querying, and it seems like it works. In the description column, we have in transit as one of the terms we're looking for, and we type that over here in the window pane to the left, and then limited by a service point, again, green loan desk here, and anything with in transit in the description field will appear here in the log. There are creative ways to get the answers that you're looking for. Yes, Kevin, those are items sent from green. Essentially, they've been checked in at the green loan desk, and then that generates the in transit. All right. And thanks, Rhea, for posting that too. We have a central location that we're keeping our training session slides, so you'll be able to view those from that page as well. Yeah, as mentioned earlier, we'll also get the video recording out to you once this has been polished and good to go.
There's also a calendar on that site that shows all the future trainings that are coming up, and it can be helpful to keep track of all the trainings.
All right, everyone. I think that now we will close. Thanks again for attending today, and let us know if you have other questions as you do your research. Thanks.
Thank you, Tyler.
Thanks, Tyler.